79% of American millionaires never inherited a single dollar. No trust fund, no rich uncle, and most of them didn't hit that first million until close to age 50, which means the millionaire next to you right now almost definitely doesn't look like one. Here are the 9 signs that actually give them away. Before we get into them, it helps to understand why this is so easy to miss. We've all been trained by the same visual shorthand. Nice car, nice watch, nice everything, that must mean money. But that shorthand was built by advertising, not by actual data. The people who quietly built 7 figures learned a long time ago that looking rich and being rich are almost opposite strategies. And once you know what to look for, you'll start noticing them everywhere. Think about how strange that actually is for a second. We spend our entire lives absorbing images of wealth from movies and ads and social media, and almost none of those images come from an actual millionaire's real financial statements. They come from marketing departments trying to sell watches and cars to people who aren't millionaires yet, using the exact symbols that real wealth builders have learned to avoid. The gap between the performance of wealth and the actual mechanics of it isn't an accident. It's the entire business model of several industries. Sign 1. They drive something that stopped impressing anyone years ago. This is the one that trips up almost everybody because we've been trained our whole lives to read an expensive car as proof of an expensive life. It's often the exact opposite. One large study of self-made millionaires found that 84% of them credited avoiding car payments as one of the specific reasons they built real wealth in the first place. Here's the math behind why. The average new car payment in this country recently crossed $770 a month. Take that same $770 and invest it instead, every month for 30 years, at a modest 8% return. That's not a car payment anymore. That's over $1.1 million. The millionaire in the paid-off Toyota isn't cheap. He just ran that math once and never forgot it. Take a guy like Warren, a warehouse supervisor who's driven the same pickup for 11 years. His coworkers used to rib him about it, right up until the day the whole crew found out he'd quietly built a portfolio worth more than most of their houses. Nobody in that warehouse ever suspected it because the truck told them everything they thought they needed to know, and the truck was lying the entire time. Sign 2. Their credit card balance hits zero every single month without exception. Ask a self-made millionaire about their credit card habits, and you'll hear some version of the same answer almost every time. They use the card constantly for the points, the protection, the convenience, and then the balance disappears completely the moment the statement arrives. In one major study, nearly 3/4 of millionaires said they've never once carried a balance in their entire lives. Compare that to a $5,000 balance sitting at 22% interest, quietly costing over $1,000 a year in pure interest, money that will never grow, never compound, never become anything except a fee. The millionaire isn't avoiding the card. He's just refusing to pay rent on money that was supposed to be his in the first place. Sign 3. A surprise bill barely registers as news. Watch how someone reacts when something breaks, because it tells you more about their actual finances than their job title ever will. Roughly 1 in 3 Americans couldn't cover a surprise $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something. For most households, a $3,000 repair bill is a full-blown crisis that ripples through months of budgeting. For someone with real money, it's a Tuesday. They keep 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in a high-yield account, earning real interest. And when the water heater dies or the transmission goes, they write a check and move on with their week. The absence of panic is the actual tell, not the size of their house, the size of their reaction. A pediatric nurse named Portia told me once that when her car needed a $2,000 repair last winter, it genuinely did not register as stress. It was just a line item, handled and forgotten by dinner. That flat, unbothered response to a number that would derail most households for months is one of the clearest tells there is, and it happens in complete silence, with nobody around to notice. Sign 4. They can tell you their net worth instantly, but couldn't tell you their salary if you asked. Most people measure their financial life in income. what they made this year, what the raise bumped them up to, what the offer letter said. Millionaires think in an entirely different currency, net worth, which is everything they own minus everything they owe. And they know that number at almost any given moment because it's the only score that actually counts. Income is water pouring into a tub. Net worth is what's still sitting in the tub after everything else drains back out. The people obsessing over the first number tend to watch it disappear every year, wondering where it went. The people tracking the second number tend to keep more of it, year after year, almost by accident. Sign 5. Their money already has a job before they ever see their paycheck. Ask most people how much they saved last month and you'll get a vague guess, usually followed by whatever was left over. The problem with that plan is that there's almost never anything left over. Rent happens. Groceries happen. Life happens, reliably, every single month. People who actually build wealth flip the order entirely. A slice of every paycheck moves automatically into savings and investments before it ever touches their regular spending account. It's not a matter of willpower. It's a matter of sequence. Run the numbers, and it's almost unfair how much this one habit matters. Someone earning $60,000 who consistently saves 20% ends up dramatically ahead of someone earning $150,000 who only manages to save 3%, not eventually, but by a wide and growing margin. The national personal savings rate right now sits at only around 4.5%. That's the entire country, averaged together, high earners and low earners alike, and it's nowhere close to what it takes to retire comfortably, let alone build 7 figures. The people who quietly break past that number almost always do it the same boring way, by never giving themselves the chance to decide against saving in the first place. Sign 6. They own things that pay them, and they're suspicious of things that only cost them. If you had to boil this whole list down to a single idea, this would be it. Every purchase gets sorted into one of 2 categories in their head, almost automatically. Does this send money back to me over time, or does it just take money away and keep taking? An index fund sends money back. A rental property sends money back. A brand new boat does not, no matter how good it feels sitting in the driveway. This doesn't mean millionaires never spend on things that don't pay them back. It means they know exactly which category a purchase falls into before they buy it, and most people never run that filter at all. Consider Marlon, a plumber who spent 2 decades buying small, unremarkable rental units in his own town, instead of steadily upgrading his own lifestyle, the way his income would have easily allowed. From the street, he looks exactly like every other guy on his block. Same modest house, same older truck. On paper, the rent checks alone now outpace what he ever earned holding a wrench, and nobody driving past his house would ever guess it. Sign 7. They say no constantly, and at some point it stopped feeling uncomfortable. The destination bachelor party, the group dinner 3 nights a week, the upgrade that everyone else seems to be getting. Real wealth builders skip a startling number of these, not because they can't afford the occasional yes, but because the constant small yeses are exactly what keeps everyone else's bank account hollow. In one large study, 94% of self-made millionaires said they live on significantly less than they earn. That gap between what they make and what they spend isn't an accident. It's the entire engine. Close it and the machine stops running, no matter how big the paycheck driving it happens to be. Sign 8. Their investing strategy is almost insultingly boring. There's a persistent fantasy that wealthy people got there by picking the right stock at the right moment, some brilliant, dramatic bet that paid off huge. The actual data says almost the opposite. In a study of over 10,000 self-made millionaires, roughly 75% pointed to regular, consistent investing over a long period of time as the real reason they built their wealth. Picking individual stocks didn't even crack the top 3 reasons. Instead, they buy broad, low-cost index funds, add to them every single month like clockwork, and then do the hardest thing in all of finance, which is nothing. They leave it alone through crashes and scary headlines, and years where the number barely seems to move. because $500 a month at 8% doesn't feel dramatic in year one. It becomes roughly $745,000 over 30 years, and almost all of that growth happens quietly, in the years nobody's paying attention. The people chasing the exciting play, the hot crypto tip, the meme stock a coworker swears by, tend to be the ones with the loudest stories and the emptiest accounts 5 years later. Millionaires made peace with slow a long time ago, and that peace is precisely what lets the compounding do its job undisturbed. Every time the market drops 20% and the headlines start screaming that this time is different, the millionaire in sign 3 is the same person calmly not checking their account, because they already know what the last several corrections in history eventually did. Sign 9. Their money buys them time long before it buys them things. Ask someone with real wealth what the money is actually for, and the answer is almost never a bigger house or a nicer watch. It's freedom. The ability to walk away from a job that's turned toxic. The ability to take a random Tuesday off without a knot forming in their stomach about the cost. Past a certain point, money stops being about acquiring more and starts being about removing friction. The late fees, the overdraft warnings, the quiet dread of being one bad month away from real trouble. That's the flex nobody ever posts about, because you genuinely cannot photograph it. But watch closely and you'll start to notice it in how unhurried certain people seem with their own days, how little they appear to be selling or proving to anyone. That calm is not a personality trait. It's the compounding result of 8 other boring decisions, made consistently for years, by someone nobody in the room suspected had any real money at all. So, put all 9 signs next to each other and a pattern jumps out immediately. None of them are loud. None of them are built to impress a stranger at a party. The Toyota in the driveway, the zero balance every month, the calm reaction to a broken water heater, the automatic transfer nobody sees, the boring index fund nobody brags about. Every single sign points toward the same uncomfortable truth. Real wealth is almost always invisible by design, because the entire strategy depends on not spending the money that's supposed to be quietly compounding somewhere else. This is exactly why the visual guessing game fails so badly. We're wired to read confidence and shine as proof of success, because that's usually how status gets signaled in every other part of life. Money is the one area where the signaling and the substance frequently point in opposite directions. The loudest signals often cost the most to maintain, and maintaining them is precisely what prevents the number underneath from ever growing into anything real. Here's the part worth sitting with longer than the rest. None of these 9 signs require a 6-figure income to start. They require a decision, repeated for years, about a car, a credit card, a savings transfer, an index fund. A dozen small yeses turned into no. A teacher earning $55,000 a year who follows every single one of these signs will, with total predictability, end up wealthier than a surgeon earning $400,000 a year who follows none of them. That's not a motivational line. That's just what the math does, reliably, every single time somebody actually runs it out over 3 or 4 decades. It's worth being honest about why this feels so counterintuitive, too. Every institution around us is built to profit from the opposite behavior. The car dealership wants the lease, not the paid-off truck. The credit card company wants the balance, not the zero. The financial news wants you checking your account daily out of fear, not calmly ignoring it for a decade. None of these 9 signs are secrets because someone's hiding them. They're just quiet enough and boring enough that nobody's incentivized to advertise them to you. So the next time you're standing in a checkout line or sitting across from someone at a hardware store on a Saturday morning, remember that the version of wealth Hollywood taught you to look for was never the real one. The real one is sitting quietly in a used truck, paying off a credit card in full, and driving home to check a net worth number that hasn't been shared with a single person at that party. It was never loud. It was never supposed to be. That was the whole plan the entire time.